Hey everybody, welcome back. Tonight we're going to work on the golf cart. It's something that's fairly essential needed here on my farm. I'm still working on getting my barn set up. And the golf cart, well, it's just going to probably be the easiest of everything so far. I have gotten my Thunderbird up on ramps and jack stands after a day of struggling to do that. I have named my Thunderbird. I have named her Christine because she is adamantly trying to kill me or harm me or fight me in every fashion. So I think I'm going to get to the Thunderbird here in a little bit, maybe in the next few days or week. But for now, we're going to take a look at the golf cart. I have already started getting it set up. I have the seat removed, batteries on charger, and I have tinkered with it a little bit, but I was waiting to do this all on camera so you guys could have an episode to watch. I'm hoping it's just the carburetor. The previous owner told me that one of his relatives took the cart out. This cart is supposed to have mixed gas. He said that the kid took the cart out and put straight gas in it, so obviously that can damage engine internals. But although compression is low, it's not gone. I think after doing some looking at how things were set up in it, I'm leaning towards carb issues, and I will show you here in a second what I mean by that. But to start with, well, let's just take a look at it. Okay, so as I had said, I started tinkering with it a little bit. I was hoping to not have to pull the engine, and I'm still hoping to not have to pull the engine on this. What you're looking at is a Robin engine. It's the engine that is pretty much the basis for most of the 80s golf carts. This is an 85 Easy Go Marathon that I have discovered. And we have the gas tank, fuel line. Fuel line runs up under the frame rail, across and back down into a fuel filter. That fuel filter goes down into here. It's a little hard to see through here right now. This is the fuel pump. Line comes out of the fuel pump and goes into the top of the carburetor. We have an overflow line here coming out of the carburetor. Obviously the carburetor itself. That's the intake for the air filter, which is right there next to the battery. And the control board. Although this is a gas engine, it is started by a starter generator, a unique combination piece that not only runs this, switches gears, and starts it. As I've been messing with this, and like I said, I haven't done very much with it because I wanted to record it all, but I just wanted to get myself set up on how it all works. Having a golf cart is new to me, but definitely a necessity on the farm. Some of you might know how it runs, some of you might not, but there's actually no ignition switch. It's just an on-off switch. It's actually the gas pedal that engages the starter. So with the key on and it in gear, you can then go to start the engine. Just by pressing the gas pedal. And you heard the engine actually almost fired off that time. The problem I'm seeming to have is it is gushing gas out of that little brown overflow tube all over my concrete floor. So it's leaking gas somehow, which leads me to believe that it's the carburetor. Now I can mix gas and oil, that's fine, and we can work on that to get it running properly, I should say. But it isn't going to matter if it doesn't start because the carburetor's all messed up. Okay. Now, although some people like to work with just one hand and record, I don't. So that's why you have seen me do things this way, being off camera while I'm working. It's because I don't work well by using just one hand and trying to do things. Fuel filter's full of gas. Just put that back in the tank. Not pretty gas. Looks like the hose is a little rough. Looks like it's disintegrating from the inside out. So the main thing to do is to get this carburetor off. And we are going to learn together on this one, because I've never worked on one of these engines before. Aside what I've learned since I got it, which hasn't been much. If I can get the carburetor off, we can go ahead and start taking it apart, because I'm not sure what kind of carburetor this is. And without knowing what kind of carburetor it is, I won't know how to fix it. Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's definitely signs of leaking fuel. That the air cleaner tray is completely full of gas. Okay. That's just more evidence that the carburetor has failed in one way or another. Start by taking the controls off. Or I wonder if I can get the interesting way of having this connected. I wonder if I can just get it off by removing these two screws right there, which look to be 3/8, it looks like. Let me get a wrench. Okay, oh, wrong one. Well, that's a 10. The problem is I'm not sure you can't even pull the nuts off. Without backing the carburetor out. Oh, interesting design. Okay. And I'll tell you what, being here in Minnesota can be a blessing or a curse. We had record snowfall over the winter. Snowfall like I haven't seen in almost all my entire life. And now we're in a drought in central Minnesota. And where I live, well, we've had maybe half an inch, 3/4 of an inch of rain in the last 3 months. And it's about 100,000 degrees here where I live. And the heat and the drought are not giving up. They don't want to give up. And I understand. I understand you people that live down south now. This temperature is horrendously a nightmare. Well, this is just about as tight of a spot as you can get. When you can't get into the right spots, it's time to break out the adapters. Try and tighten this up some. Give me a little bit of slack. It's almost too hot to even be outside. There we go. Not perfect, but it'll work. And then we got cables here that have, looks like Allen head set screws. I don't know if you guys can see those or not. I have to see what tiny size of Allen heads I can come up with. Well, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, there we go. That's the right size. Looks like this cable is going to be fun to fix or replace. It's always good when people just crank down on something till it breaks, because that helps it to run, you know. Get that cable out of there. Well, it looks like she wants to come out. You know who you're dealing with when they replace the positive and negative cables with the wrong cables on your vehicle, no matter what the vehicle is, because they replace the negative cable with a red cable and the positive cable with a black cable. And well, that's just not the right colors. So somebody wasn't too much on the uptake on that one. Let's see, what do we got going on here? Because it looks like, I can't tell if that plate, this plate here, looks like a gasket, but it's not a gasket. I wonder if it's attached to the, doesn't look like it's attached to the carburetor at all, but I suppose it could be. Let's go ahead and get this cable out of here. And we're all learning together. But for people that are decent mechanically, you know, an engine is an engine. And almost all engines run exactly the same. They just use different parts. But they still have a carburetor. They still have an intake and pistons, or in this case piston, because this is just a single cylinder engine. Oh, that looks a little worn. Shouldn't be flopping around like that. But what I don't get is why this side of the carburetor is not coming up. Well, get a screwdriver. But just to let you know, don't ever pry if you are unsure of what's going on. Alright, so it appears that it was just the stud here that the nut's sitting on was a little warped, probably from heat, so that's what was holding it on. Alright, so that nut fell down on the ground along with a washer. I'll get that later. But I do see a tiny little spring here. That was down there by the nut, so I'm not sure what that belongs to just yet. So that should be interesting to find out. I just know this nut is gonna fall as soon as I get near it. Maybe I can just ease it off with the socket here. Get it out and out of the way. There we go. All right, here's the carburetor. Says MIC on the side of it. I'm not sure who MIC is. It's the manufacturer. I'll take a look here. Yeah. Just letting her wow, full of gas. Just kind of kind of peeing out that drain hose. And you got the throttle right there. This down here is the bowl. This is where all the gas sits in as it's being drawn through the carburetor. Air comes into this end. Here's a choke. And then gas goes in along with air. It goes in down through here and into the engine to make it run. Now, it looks like gaskets aren't torn. What I would say, whenever you're working on something, if at all possible, replace the gaskets. Now, gaskets are usually fairly cheap. I live out in the middle of Nowhereville, Minnesota. So I can't just run over to the golf shop, or I should say the golf cart shop, which is probably an hour and a half away. So things have to be ordered online, or you have to work with what you got until you can get them. So the next step will be in breaking down the carburetor. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and leave the battery charger still on here. Drop that cable down there. And then I'm going to put the seat back up here. That way we can take a look at the carburetor. Ooh. That would be backwards. Flip this around. I could put it wood side facing up, but it's really not that big a deal. I don't think anyway. And we'll take this wonderful rag here and set it out. So set the carb down there and start looking into it. All right, that got rid of the shadow a little bit better. Okay. So the best way to do this, aside from how I'm doing it, is to document everything. I've said this before when working on the Thunderbird. If you don't know what you're doing, document it. Document, whether you're taking pictures, writing, videoing, or all the above. I don't have a repair manual for this carburetor. I don't have the specs yet. But that isn't going to stop me from taking it apart. Get out a couple tools that I might need. Here's a screwdriver. Okay. So, since the basic function of a carburetor is going to be the exact same, no matter no matter what the carburetor is. The function is to get gas and air into the engine at the correct ratio so it'll run. Now this right here is going to be a interesting. This right here is going to be a throttle screw. I'm not even going to come close to touching that because I don't want to deal with the throttle right now. This is going to be a jet of some sort. And the same with right here. But without taking a measurement, I don't want to mess that up. So let me go ahead and get my micrometer, and we're going to take a measurement to know what that gap is. Then I can take it out. Well, it is just too damn hot. It's got to be about 100,000 degrees here. And my micrometer is not in the drawer that it's supposed to be in. I saw it yesterday. I was using it. And I don't know what happened to it. So, you know, sometimes you got to improvise. So I'm going to take a measurement here. Try to do it in millimeters. And yes, I know this is America and we don't use metric here. But if you want to get precise, sometimes that's what you have to do. And it looks like we're right about at the 8 millimeter mark from the stop nut. Well, that's an easy number for me to remember. I'm not going to say why, but it is. You can see that that nut isn't moving, but the screwed portion of that is. So we're going to back that stop nut out, and then the stop nut and this will come out together. Now there's a good chance in here there's either springs or, as you see here, that's a needle. That would be why they call it a needle valve, because it regulates air and fuel mixture, same as this. Okay, so this is a jet, and I don't see anything down in there, so there's no springs or any ball valves in there. And aside from taking this out, which doesn't need to come out, what's going to happen next is to take this bolt off the bottom here. And that'll open up this float bowl. And inside will be the float. And it looks like in there's another valve right there. These are paper composite washers, so be very careful not to break them. Inside of the float bowl looks very clean. And this is the float because it, well, floats. When there's gas, imagine the carburetor is actually standing up. So this is on the bottom of the carburetor inside the float bowl. When the fuel pump gets fuel into the float bowl, when it reaches a certain point, it tells the carburetor mechanically to stop accepting fuel. And that is what's not happening right now, because there is fuel coming, gushing out of this thing when there's not supposed to be. These are all very small, very intricate parts. So if you're not familiar with doing this, if you've never done it before, do it slowly, do it methodically. And there's the underside of the float. And this right here, this is the needle for the seat of the float. This goes down in there and tells the fuel to stop coming out. Well, if that isn't just fascinating, I need to get another screwdriver, because that shouldn't be moving. Now inside here, this is what this threads into. It goes in there like that. But inside, there's another brass valve of some sort that shouldn't be moving. Okay. No. Don't get me wrong, it is possible, I guess, that it's... No, see, it's got threads on it. So, that's interesting. That means someone has either been in this carburetor before and screwed it up, or there is a serious problem with this carburetor that is further down. You can see this goes down quite a ways, and from what I can see, about halfway down here is a set of threads that this should be threading into, but it's not. So, why is it not? Well, let's take a look at this in the light. I know you guys won't be able to see it because I'm using the light above the camera to look directly into it, because it's a super bright LED light. And I am not seeing anything down there that would prevent this from threading in. Okay. Well, I don't know if you guys can see it. I'm going to see if I can show you what I'm... Okay. And this goes down inside here and actually comes up into the center of the carb. And you see there's nothing in the center of the carb right there. Let's see if I can get a good shot. There's nothing in the center right there. But if I put this in here, you can see it come right up in the center of the carb. That is not supposed to move, but it is. So we have a problem, and I'm not a fan of problems. I don't know if somebody screwed this up, or somehow it backed out. or if I'm just gonna have to buy another one. I'm really hoping this is not an issue, because let's take a look here. Okay, I'm gonna drop that down there, and I'm gonna put this. We're gonna make it like the bowl is on there. And the washer. That gives us the proper gapping. And it would just snug it there. Can you guys hear that? That rattle? That's that orifice tube rattling. So we definitely have a carburetor problem. I really don't want to buy a carburetor. It's not on my list of wants right now. So, let's try and figure this out. Let's get that orifice out of there. Now, there's still one more valve here. I'm not sure if I can get that out without the proper socket. And I'm not sure the proper socket's even gonna fit in there. I think it's a 10. Well, this is a 10. Nope. So I'm gonna have to see if I have a 1/4-inch 10. Take a quick look. Well, this is not a 1/4-inch 10, and but it's the same wall thickness, and that doesn't even fit down in there. So I wonder what they used to get that down in there. Well, like I said, a lot of the functionalities of a carburetor are all the same, but the designs are different. And because the designs are different, I'm not aware of all the exact functionings of this carburetor. I know the basics of it, and we have gone over the different needles and valve bodies and orifices and everything else that goes into this carb. Oh, it's a Mikuni. Let me see if I can scrape all that off. Okay, so let's get a good light on that. Okay, so right there it says Mikuni. Well, this carburetor is now worth looking into further. Mikuni made some of the best carburetors back in the day out of Japan before everything went to China. So what I'm going to have to figure out is why this orifice tube is not threading in. Now there could be any number of reasons, all the way from that somebody stripped out this center shaft, which, let me take a quick look and take my hat off, because maybe I can see more clear. Now, I don't know if you guys can see or not, but you see the first set of threads? So that's where the bolt for the bottom of the bowl threads into. And then further down, there's another set of threads. And there's nothing in between. Now, It doesn't look like there's supposed to be anything in between at all. But I believe those threads that you're seeing that are on the second portion are the threads that this orifice tube is supposed to thread into. And the problem being, I don't think this threaded portion of this orifice tube is long enough, or to go all the way down, because that all that being that's a bit down. So yeah, it's not even reaching all the way down, and it's not going down any further. So somebody has been into this before. But the question is, what did they do to it? You know, it almost looks like this is the wrong orifice tube, because I can't push it down any further. And I'm seeing, let's see if I can show you guys. So you see there's one of the little holes in that tube right there in the center of it. And that would be that would be that one right there. So if that's as far down as it goes, well, that is definitely a problem. Well, we're not going to get any more work done right now. So what I'm going to do, some good wiring on this rod too, or on this. Yeah, they've been riding this carburetor hard. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end the video. I'm going to take and try and find out a little bit more about this carburetor, because without everything working properly, there is no way on God's green earth that this is going to work properly. This should even be that should be hammered down. That's been worn out or JB welded. I hate using JB weld because this shouldn't be flopping around like a dead fish either. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to call it for the night. I cannot wait to get back into the swing of things and start making more videos for you guys again. I did not want it to end this way tonight. I thought it'd be an easy carb flush rebuild, put it back together and put some gas in it and go. It's not always like that, unfortunately. Murphy's Law, what can go wrong will go wrong, seems to inhabit most of my cars and toys, which will provide a lot more videos for me to make and for you to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know I enjoyed it. And I'm glad that you came along and watched. And I hope you learned something. If you didn't, I hope you enjoyed watching it. And I will see you all later.